Hey, Studio DNA fans, I'm Chad, a new podcast host here on the network. I'd like to invite you to check out my new show called Hot Takeout, where I mix together some of my favorite things, fast food and musical artists. When you listen, you'll get that feeling you have when you get an onion ring in the bottom of your french fries. It's a win. We'll dig deep with the artists. We'll find out what inspires them and what foods they have to stay away from. And we're also playing fast food games, which will also make sense when you listen. So check out the Hot Takeout podcast streaming right now here on the Studio DNA Podcast Network.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 30 of Disney Plus Reviews. I'm one of your co-hosts, Phil Souza, and I'm here with my co-host, my good friend, and the guy who ends every conversation with the phrase, Wakanda forever. It's a little confusing for people, but he does it. It's Jack Ultraman. What's happening, Jack?
I'm here. I'm doing great. Enjoy this. I enjoy this movie so very much. This is one of those movies that, much like... Hear me out when I say this. Much like for me, much like Ant-Man much like Ant-Man, much like Doctor Strange, Black Panther comes at this thing from a whole different direction.
Oh, yeah.
Because at this point we'd seen, the Captain America stuff, we've seen the Avengers stuff, we've seen Thor and Iron Man, and so now we're getting to fill out this universe, and it was a much needed character. Black Panther is a much needed character in this universe. So
yeah, there's a lot of Marvel fans that have read a lot of Black Panther over the years. Newer comic book character, right? I don't think he goes back as far as like Peter Parker.
He's been around a long time. He's not, but very few people have been around as long as Spider-Man. Spider-Man does whatever Spider can.
Yeah. I'll have to look up, or if you want to look it up.
I'll look it up.
I'm interested to see when he became a character in Marvel. I'm guessing maybe 70s. I know it was in the 60s.
Take a look in the Black Panther.
At any rate, I totally agree. And I think one of the things I like the most, and probably I'm not anywhere close to being alone.
First appearance, Fantastic Four number 52 in 1966.
Wow, 60s. Okay.
Been around a long time.
Yeah. Almost as long as Peter Parker.
Big deal.
Because first appearance of Spider-Man was Amazing Fantasy 20-something, 27 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he wasn't too far behind. Anyway, so, yeah, I think a lot of people were anticipating this. I think he's obviously, it's impossible to talk about this movie and not talk about Africa or African Americans. Like, sure. It is very much associated with that culture, and it doubles down on it. Like, I as much as I thought it was going to be. First of all, let me say this: I did not watch this movie until last night. So just so everyone knows, sure. I'm coming off of an extreme high because I just watched it for the first time. Yeah. And I had seen all 21, 22 of the other Marvel movies. This was literally the only gaping hole in my Marvel watching. And I don't know that I've mentioned this on this podcast, but I'm a huge Marvel comic book fan. I've read I would say probably at least 600 or 700 Marvel comics. So wow. I've read a lot of comics, and most of them Marvel, and I've never read a Black Panther comic, but I've read, he's been in a lot of the comics that I've read, like Avengers and stuff like that. And so I am familiar with the character going into this movie, and of course I'd already seen him in some of the movies that came out after Black Panther. Yeah. And before.
In a supporting role, yeah.
Yeah. But I just, for whatever reason, just never saw this movie when it came out in theaters. I couldn't make it work. I would have gone on day one if I could. And then I don't know why I've just waited this long to see it. It's been out for 2 years now, and now coming around, more than 2 years, now coming around to it. So now that it's on Disney Plus, it's super easy to just fire it up and watch. And I watched it last night, and holy cow, I waited too long to see this movie.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It is...
I like the ethnicness of it.
I like that too, and I like that they did a lot of good honor to that character, and they made him really strong, and they made him really powerful, and they made him have some human weaknesses, and they really told the story of Black Panther pretty well in it. And it is one of those movies that really resonated with people. And honestly, back in the day, I don't know, back in 2018, you could go to these things called theaters and watch movies.
Oh yeah.
And so people went and watched this movie multiple times in theater because $200 million budget, $1.3 billion box
Oh my
office.
gosh.
Huge Marvel movie. And
Wow.
people dig it. And it's supposed to have a sequel in 2022.
Oh, nice.
So we'll see how that works out.
It broke records when I remember this movie. When this movie, even before the movie came out, it broke records for pre-sales, I think, at the time. And maybe it's another movie has beat it since then. But in 2018, I think it came out in February or something of that year.
February 16th, yeah.
Like even by like December, January, they were like, yeah, Black Panther's already blown away every record. Like it had beaten Harry Potter, it had beaten every other Marvel movie before it.
Yes.
As far as how many tickets that movie was selling. So, which, I mean, that says something. Like, I think people are drawn to just something that's different. And I think that's why Ragnarok did so well.
Yes.
But like, I think I never get tired of watching any of the Marvel movies, but the ones that I go back to the most are the ones where I feel like I'm learning something that's more than just the character.
Sure.
Even though this is a fictional country in the real continent of Africa, and it's involving a lot of fiction stuff like vibranium.
Right.
I feel like I'm learning a little bit about African culture and just, these tribes that have these, emotions and opinions and stuff that are maybe different from American culture.
Sure.
I think it's very appealing, even if you don't like Marvel stuff.
I like the way that they created this culture in a way that it's advanced in technology. It's hidden itself from the world. To protect itself and its traditions. It's yet another character created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. And Stan Lee is one of those people that he never shied away from breaking a mold, from being willing to press an envelope, from being willing to do something that maybe at the time, especially, 1966, that was probably a little bit taboo for him to create a superhero that's an African American
MLK
descent.
Jr. assassination was what, 3 years
Before?
Yeah. So this is a very tumultuous time in our history as far as like race relations and stuff like that in the 1960s. One could argue it's still just as bad now. Maybe not just as bad, but it's still bad.
And just things evolve and change, and so like our reactions to things are different, and that we're in the middle time-wise. We're in the middle of a really weird racial.
Let's just mention the elephant in the room. Like we're recording this the week. We didn't do this on purpose, but like we're recording it the week of the Minneapolis shooting and the riots and all that kind of stuff. So if you're listening to this 3 months in the future, that's what's going on right now.
George Floyd being, just essentially choked out and killed.
I'm sorry, I said shooting, but that's not.
It's okay. But senselessly and honestly, like over essentially $20. I don't know if anyone's ever really focused on that, but like he died for $20, basically over $20, and not his fault.
Oh yeah.
Like it's really weird. Like it's really weird. Like it's a reaction. The reaction that he got, he was given a reaction on something that was like completely. Like it's unbelievable. A violent reaction based on, and I'm gonna get in the weeds here, like on this, but like a violent reaction to a non-violent thing that he was a non-violent crime that he was accused of.
Yeah.
Which is really weird. Which is like of trying to pass a $20 counterfeit bill at a store.
Yeah.
And that resulted in him.
I'm gonna give my like 30 seconds politics, and then we'll get into.
Well, it's not politics. Like I'm not viewing it as politics. I'm saying it as
I meant current events
as politics, or not even politics, but as like just like human decency. Even like it's really weird.
Here's my 30 seconds current events.
Yeah.
This one is unique in the sense that he was already in custody. I think like every other,
oddly,
like, you think of like the St. Louis and like and every other major city in America that has had like these police brutality things against black people. This one is unique in the sense that there's no like I was firing at him in self-defense. He was going for a gun. Like there's none of that. Like he was literally in handcuffs on the ground when he died, and it's just like unbelievable.
And I'll say this too, like the reaction to it is, okay, well, he died at the hands of a police officer. That must mean that all police officers are bad. And that's not true.
Yep.
Like that's absolutely not true.
Right.
Because for one bad cop, I'll say it that way, that goes that makes a really stupid. I mean, just the most unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because that guy at that time isn't thinking, "Oh, I'm going to kill this person."
Yeah,
he's just thinking.
I also believe that.
Who knows what? I mean, but like for every one of him, there's hundreds of others that would literally have laid their lives on the line.
Yeah.
For any person.
And I don't know this officer, but like I would imagine that he's sitting in his cell thinking, I screwed up.
Well,
like
he's already been charged with third degree murder and manslaughter. So it's like, it's one of those where there's no wiggle room. You know, a lot of these, you had said political. I didn't mean to not jump on you, but like people politicize things.
Oh yeah.
This has nothing to do with politics.
Yeah.
Like don't cloud that, because I could go in a whole other direction.
It's crazy
with why it's not to do with politics. If it is,
I think it's crazy to even make the statement that most police officers in Minneapolis are corrupt. Like that's a statement too far.
It's not, we don't know. We don't live there. But I would say this, that like the human part of it in general.
Yes.
I mean, let's just come on. Like
the guy made a huge error here, and it's going to be.
And maybe we don't know his heart. And we don't know his heart.
Yeah.
I'm a believer, so I don't know his heart to make a judgment. But I'm saying that like it could have been who knows what. He's having a bad day, and here's how I'm going to react, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But dude, like that's slow down and think, because look at George Floyd in this situation.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy, like all intents and purposes, he's a good person. I've yet to find out if the counterfeit $20 bills really was counterfeit, and if he had anything to do with it being counterfeit.
Yeah.
And now it's unbelievable. Like, look at that all tied off, all over $20. So there you go. That's I didn't mean to rant. But man, folks, I could go off and talk about it.
I mean, we couldn't not mention that, because the timing of that thing with watching this movie this week for me was really poignant. And add to that, I said this off air right before we hit record, but I'm also playing a video game called Mafia 3. Mafia 3 is a game about a black protagonist that's in like the crime world. He's like part of like mafia relations and stuff like that in the 1960s, and he like literally just came back from the war, like Vietnam and stuff like that, and served, and then comes back, and he's a black man in basically what is like a fake New Orleans. It's like a fictional New Orleans called New Bordeaux, and he's committing crimes, and people already, they look at him and he's dressed the way he is, and they just make all these assumptions and call him all these words that people shouldn't use. And so I'm playing that game. Minneapolis happened, and I watched Black Panther all in the last like 3 days. Yeah, and so I have a lot of this stuff on my mind. Yeah. But I think what the movie does really well, and I think it was great for 2018. I think it's even maybe more palatable now in 2020, but especially with what just happened in Minneapolis. But it is such a rich portrayal of these tribes that go back thousands and thousands of years. At one point in the movie, and I don't necessarily agree. I mean, who knows? No one can actually say definitively, but like one of the characters actually says in the movie, didn't all of humanity come from this continent? Like this was like the birthplace of humanity, and it's maybe partially true.
But if you believe in the Fertile Crescent, if you believe in Mesopotamia, or if you believe in any of the things that all these that life alleged, I'm gonna say alleged because we don't know. We don't know.
No one knows.
We don't know, but that it sprung from. Then you're right. Then that's the continent that would have come from.
I just thought it was really cool. I love, you already mentioned it, but I loved the juxtaposition of the tech. Like they're the most technologically advanced country in the world, but also have like these tribal like ritual procedures that they do, and like you have to like get into like a hand-to-hand combat fight for the king to be the king of this kingdom and stuff like that. Like it was cool to see how they balance those both the old and the new.
Sure.
So I don't know. It was great, but I want to just kind of talk about just kind of our favorite parts of the movie, and then we can maybe talk about a few scenes here and there. But
sure.
I think the most interesting discussion to have about Black Panther is its differences from the rest of the Marvel movies, because it is very, very different from anything else that Marvel's done. And I think a lot of that is kudos to the director, like just going a different direction with the movie, but and Kevin Feige for letting him like doing something completely different. And then just talk about like things that we remember from watching the movie. Have you seen it recently at all?
Oh yeah, we watched it less than a month ago.
Okay, gotcha. So like things that stick with you. I think either visually or certain lines that were delivered or certain combat scenes. Let's just start there. The combat in this movie is otherworldly. It's the closest thing I can think of to it, and this is a very close association because it's another Marvel property, is the Daredevil series. I think that the combat in Daredevil is some of the most amazing.
About the TV show, not the Ben Affleck movie.
No, I'm sorry. The Netflix series. The Netflix series Daredevil has some of the most amazing, like, one camera shot for 4 minutes combat scene. I've never seen anything like it. And then I saw this movie and I was just like, man, they definitely took a few pages off of Daredevil. I thought the combat was so lightning fast. It's kind of John Wick. It's very like, I can't believe humans are pulling off these moves type of thing.
Right. It's this aggressive, really the stunts are awesome. And speaking of that, on the Horrible Movie Podcast, we interviewed at, I think it was Kansas City Comic-Con, we interviewed, I'm going to get this wrong, Hamid Reza Benjamin Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
Who's in Black Panther. Does stunts in Black Panther.
Do we know like if it was a particular...
Let me look at the site here. Let me see what we got. You go ahead and do your thing.
I can't remember how tall he was.
He's been in all kinds of things, by the way. I'm going to rattle off all the things he's been. He was just it has him listed as stunt performer. He has been in the following. And so if you want to go over to the Horror Movie Podcast later on and listen to this interview, it's pretty good. I wish you could have been there to see it visually because he's jumping off tables.
Yeah,
he's doing crazy stuff. He's in TV show Atlanta. He was in the movie Keanu. He also was in Logan. He was in Empire, the TV show Empire. He was in Spider-Man Homecoming as Bokeem Woodbine's stunt double. He was in The Walking Dead. He was in Black Panther, Infinity War, Escape Plan 2, Hades. I have no idea what that is. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Daredevil TV show.
Wow, he's done a lot of Marvel stuff.
He's done Avengers Endgame, Doom Patrol, and the Watchmen TV show. And he's currently filming in post-production for Suicide Squad.
Wow. Cool. Yeah, we got to talk to him. Yeah, it was really neat to hear him. Go back and listen to that interview because he gives some really good insights into that world.
Unbelievable athletic, too. Like, it's crazy athletic. So, anyway, there you go.
Speaking of, to stay on the stunt double thing, the car chase scenes and just like anything involving vehicles and stuff like that was absolutely amazing.
Oh my gosh!
Dude, that scene where his sister, I need to look up some names, but Shuri, yeah, where Shuri jumps into that virtual car, and like basically drives an unpiloted car through Korea, South Korea.
Yeah, and that virtual stuff comes in handy at the end for Martin Freeman's character at the end of the movie.
Yeah, he gets into like this. It's like a plane. I don't want to say plane, but it's like a jet.
Yeah, it's like a Quinjet, but it's like a jet. You and I were talking over lunch, and you had mentioned Okoye, who she is. Is she doing her own stunts
in this movie?
I don't know.
I would like to know that. She is amazing.
She is amazing.
And honestly, like if it wasn't for take T'Challa out of this movie and make her the main character, I might have been almost as interested, honestly, as watching T'Challa.
She's super tough.
She is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I was not prepared. Here's one thing that I think was either not mentioned to me or completely undersold. This movie is more of a team, like a team up, a team of superheroes than I was expecting. I literally thought it was going to be Black Panther against the world. And
he's got Wakanda is filled with a lot of character. And a lot of characters, and the different tribes have their own flair, and then you add in the antagonists of the movie.
Really, two antagonists,
there's two because Sebastian Klaue. Am I saying that right?
Yeah,
he's in it, and I love. Is it Serkis? Andy Serkis?
Yeah,
that plays Gollum.
Yeah.
Right, but he is Sebastian Klaue, and Klaue.
He looks great in this movie, and he looks super creepy. Like in every shot. I love it.
Klaue's character is Ulysses Klaue. I don't know why I said Sebastian. Ulysses Klaue is a character in the Marvel Universe and has been around for a long time and plays a villain for a lot of different people. But he's ruthless like that too. So I thought it was really well done.
In his hand, we'll get into the CGI here in a second. I want to stay on the some of the vehicle stuff and combat stuff, but his hand, like the way that like his hand like separates from itself, and then like literally a hand cannon comes out of his arm, and then he just starts firing that thing. I was like, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen Marvel do. And it's simple, it's just a gun, but it's a very cool gun, and it's literally a part of his body. Like it's, and at one point Black Panther,
who cut it off?
In
one of the other Marvel movies. One of the other Marvel movies when it got cut off.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Is
it Winter Soldier?
I think so.
There's a flashback in this movie to when T'Chaka dies as a part of that. UN, is it UN or something like that?
Yes.
He's speaking at some kind of event,
and they blow up the
and he gets assassinated.
UN event. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say that's in Captain America: Winter Soldier or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the movie. It's not the. I'm not thinking of the one oh my gosh, Civil War. It's not Civil War, is it?
I don't think so.
Okay, so it must be Winter Soldier that he's in.
I'm blanking on. I'm sorry. But
anyway, it was cool to see that connection, like connecting to old Marvel movies that obviously I haven't seen in years because I can't remember the details of it. But to go back and kind of continue storylines and character developments that were made on previous movies. That's what's, again, Feige, props to Kevin Feige and just Marvel Studios in general. Like, it's unbelievable how they connect those storylines and make you feel like you're really tuning into like a real world. Like, this is the chronicles of an alternate universe is kind of like what I feel like we're watching. And so, yeah, it was cool to see Klaue come back and his arm's gone, but now he's super powerful because he has this prosthetic that can brandish a weapon whenever he wants and do it covertly and everything like that. So
cool.
More about the combat. There's a part where he's fighting in like a club, basically, like people are dancing and stuff like that, and fight breaks out, and Freeman, what's his first name? Martin?
Martin Freeman.
He's the guy on Sherlock Holmes, right?
Yeah, he's Watson.
So he is British? This guy's British, right?
Yeah, and he's an American accent. He's an American Secret Service person or whatever he is.
Was impeccable.
Or CIA or whatever he is.
Yeah, he's an American CIA agent, and his American accent is impeccable. It is. I would never have believed that he was British had I not seen him in other stuff.
Klaue loses his arm because he makes Ultron mad, and Ultron cuts his arm off.
Okay, all right.
Part of it.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
There you go.
In which movie?
Oh, good call. Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron. Okay. All right. Yeah. I have trouble keeping them all together,
there you go.
To be honest.
Anyway, there you go.
But yeah. So he's fighting him. He's fighting Klaue, and Claw is like shooting, and all of his goons are shooting. Trying to kill both Black Panther and the CIA guy.
Sure.
And he. Like, of course, it's all very. The camera is really close to the action. Black Panther's just mowing down fools. Daredevil style, just taking out a room full of guys, whatever. And then he sees Klaue up on the balcony, and he's probably 15, 20 feet above the floor. It's a larger than a typical floor would be in like in a house or something like that. And he just vaults it, like just jumps 20 feet into the air, like straight up, basically up to the balcony from the bottom of the club. So that kind of stuff is the athleticism and I don't even know how they filmed that shot. Like, was it a rope? It didn't look like a rope work thing.
It looks like one shot. It doesn't look like there's any divide in it, so it looks like one shot, but it's got to be CGI'd.
Yeah.
The cool thing I always thought about, like, and you see this in, was that in Civil War? You see this where it's almost like these comparisons between Captain America and Black Panther in their overall abilities, and how, like, and you don't really know it because you haven't seen the Black Panther movie yet. Is that right? Am I saying that right?
I don't remember the timeline of when movies came out.
But he, you find out that his power comes from that blue mountain flower.
Yeah, they call it the heart-shaped herb.
Yes,
or
the
something
heart-shaped
like
herb, and it's very super soldier serum.
Yeah.
Like. So I don't know.
Wait, you know what I like? Let's get on that
Sure.
for a little bit. What I like about the heart-shaped herb is that it anyone can drink it. Like, it's not like T'Challa himself has some superpowers that no one else can have. Like, it's literally like, do this seance, this ritual type of thing. We basically kind of put you under almost like a pseudo unconscious state, and we have to do all these things in order to get you up to the point where you can actually be Black Panther. That's why we see Killmonger at the end of the movie to be able to go through the same ritual. It can be literally anybody,
right?
And I don't even know if you have to be of like Wakandan blood. Like it's I think it's just, I mean, maybe you do, but it's literally anyone in the tribe that can do it. And yet when they go into those hand-to-hand combat, ritual combat things where like someone can take over the kingdom, they strip him of his powers. So they give him some other kind of, it's another herb or something like that basically detoxes him.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me. I didn't know that. I mean, I'm sure that's all that's covered in the comics, but I'd never read any of the comics.
Yeah,
so
they do.
All
And
that
they
was
fight, and that's how they fight, making an even fight between the two tribes.
Yeah. They say that he will be stripped of the power of the Panther or something like that, and he basically becomes like just a mere mortal. And then after he wins, they give him that power back by giving him another heart-shaped herb. I think all that's super fascinating.
And again, Wakanda's technology is like advanced, so that's really cool too. So
yeah. Let's talk about the tech. What were some of the technology things that you
I
thought
think
were
it's funny
really cool?
that like it's at this point in the universe, Iron Man is the top end of tech.
Yeah.
To the point where he's created, artificial intelligence in Ultron.
Yep.
And now you find out about this other place that no one knows about, that's not even been talked about, and it's like very comic booky to retcon a little bit and be like, oh, it's this imaginary place that no one knows about. Mm-hmm. And I feel like at some point someone talks about hearing rumors of said place, but anyway.
Well, and I watched these out of order, of course. I watched Infinity War after the fact, and there's a huge Infinity War battle scene in Wakanda and stuff like that. And so everything I knew about Wakanda was from that movie.
Sure.
And everyone knew Wakanda, and everyone they know where to go to fight all the Wakandans and stuff like that. Well, at the beginning of this movie, I was so confused because the news, like, it's literally one of the first scenes you see in the movie. I think it's the first scene that you see in the modern day, and you're watching the news, and they're talking about, oh, Wakanda, the poorest nation on earth, and blah blah blah. And it's just like, I was just like, what? Like, did I miss something? Like, why are they so poor? And it's like, oh, because they don't even know that all this whole city exists.
Yes. Yeah, and they've kept it like quiet. But then that brings up this idea to me. How do you get to be in the highly technological part of Wakanda, and then do you not know if you're in the other part of Wakanda?
Like Wakandans?
Well, like you're in the. How does the world know about Wakanda and know it's poor, but yet there's a big chunk of it that's not, and they're in this city that no one knows about that's got this shield over it.
Yeah.
They're apparently seeing someone outside of that city that's in Wakanda, quote unquote.
Oh, you're saying
are those people actors?
Are you okay? You're saying that how do you get into the club?
Yeah, if you're one of those people out there like working the oxen.
Yeah.
Like,
it's kind of
you gotta be like, dude, why don't I get to be in there with the people?
Maybe they don't even know.
Maybe they don't, and then that's kind of cruel.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, I digress.
Dude, the tech in this movie is unbelievable. As much as you watch the Iron Man movies, you're just like, wow, like this guy's a multi-trillionaire.
Yeah, and you have Jarvis, and it's this artificial intelligence, but this whole
and
society.
It's great, but it's like none of the Marvel movies, as far as tech goes, in my opinion, have come anywhere close to this movie.
Right.
Like, and I would love to see a Black Panther 2. So the end of, we'll just cut right to the end, I guess. We're spoiling the whole movie, obviously. You probably figured that out already. The end of the movie basically ends up with him saying, take the shield off. We're basically, making ourselves available to the world. All of our tech is, we'll teach you, we'll pass it on to everyone else that needs it. I'm very interested to see a Black Panther 2 where it's obviously going to be post Infinity War and Endgame, and the world has gotten drastically different. But I'm interested to see a Wakanda that's not in hiding anymore, and like what are they doing now as far as their interaction with the world, especially with their technology.
Right.
So that will be fascinating to watch. But yeah, it's because of their tech that they're hidden from the world.
And their tech, though, has been brought on by the fact they have vibranium, which is this rare metal that they've kept under wraps so much that they have went through the world and picked any that's ever gotten out. They go and find it.
Yeah.
Because they make that comment in the movie. Killmonger finds that. Gosh, it's like a spear tip or something, or it's like a blade of some kind.
Almost like a pickaxe, but
it's something basic, yeah. And and they're like, "Oh, it's a piece that we weren't able to find," which tells you that they don't let any of their vibranium out.
At one point, Klaue gets apprehended, and I think it's the CIA. Yeah, it's the CIA guy that's questioning him, and he says he makes the line of something like you stole like 80% of the world's vibranium when you stole that one item, and he's just like, you think that was the most vibranium that there is?
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
He's like, I stole almost none of it. Like you don't even know. They've been mining it for thousands of years, and they haven't even scratched the surface of how much vibranium is in that country. So yeah, that was so cool to me to see, and it really opens the doors to like, Marvel is not interested in making vibranium limited or rare at all. Like it's something that is located in only a single country, but there's so much of it there that they can do anything
Whatever
they want with it. And they have so much vibranium in Wakanda that they're making everything out of vibranium. Like their trains, their entire transit system runs on vibranium.
Yes.
All of their cars, all of their weapons, their armor, like at one point, Shuri at one point says there's vibranium all around us, like in this room, the room that they're sitting in. They're like, yeah, the entire room is made out of vibranium, basically. So yeah, it was cool to see like a 2018 civilization that is benefiting from like maybe 4,000 years of vibranium mining. They just have this endless wealth of the world's strongest metal.
Well, Captain America's shield, at least in some parts, is made of vibranium.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
There's some parts of Marvel that talked about it being made of vibranium and adamantium, which is kind of neat.
Huh.
It's an alloy combined.
Yeah.
But I think that this movie more leans on being made of vibranium.
I think when they've mentioned it, they said it's only vibranium.
Yeah. In the Marvel universe proper, it's an alloy of both, which then ties three major characters together.
Right.
But and for this purpose, it was it's that. So
it's cool because like Iron Man is pretty impenetrable. Like he can take bullet fire and stuff like that. But to watch, I mean, you just chalk that up to like, okay, Tony's a trillionaire, he can do whatever he wants. But like they have like, vibranium obviously is very, very expensive, and they obviously have a lot of money to put up with all the tech all over the country, whatever, all over the city at least. But when he starts like just walking directly into gunfire, and then they're just everyone's unloading a clip into this guy, and it's literally, it's not even like pulling his chest back, like it's literally just bouncing. He just
absorbs it,
and he just doesn't care. Like, yeah, and he's taking like he takes. That suit is amazing, but like he takes direct like RPGs to the chest, and just like he falls, but he gets right back up and stuff like that. So
what's cool is that they came upon vibranium because allegedly it's a meteorite that fell to Earth.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And I wonder if that's buried.
I wonder if that's the original comic.
No, I could see it being that way.
Yeah, you're our looker-upper for the next.
I got it. I'm on research and development.
But yeah, he's very bulletproof in that suit. I really liked the ship, and to talk more about the tech or whatever, it's one of the first scenes you see in the movie. They're on that ship hovering above like this transit. They're actually transporting, I guess, slaves or criminals. I can't remember. Nakia is one of the girls that's on the
human trafficking.
Okay,
it's human trafficking.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm assuming
it looked like that way. It was all women that were on.
Yeah, so for the, I hate to say sex trade, but like, who knows what? So yeah.
So they're being transported on this thing, and obviously
and she's been undercover.
They drop down. Yeah,
she's been undercover in this to try to infiltrate it, and then he has to break it up to.
I think Nakia is a good character. I want to spend a whole like 2 or 3 minutes just on her. But so before he obviously drops down, he literally jumps out of the jet and falls to the earth and breaks up their whole transport, whatever, and throws those things that disable their trucks. It's a really cool scene. But what I want to talk about is on the ship. Again, this is Tony Stark level stuff, but maybe even arguably better than anything Tony Stark has.
Yes,
he pulls up this like it almost looks like a war room table like in the middle of his ship, and on the table becomes a Tony Stark level like CGI thing where he can see it's scanning the earth below,
and
he can see all the trucks on this table, and then he does something that Tony Stark's never done. He picks up one of the trucks and like like looks at the bottom of the truck and he's like analyzing it, and then he puts it back on the thing, and the truck keeps driving on the table.
It's an unbelievable technology.
It's so cool, and it's like it almost looks like it's made of dirt, like it's like a black substance, and it doesn't even look like Tony Stark's stuff looks really computerized, but there's nothing computer that looks that it's a computer that's creating this, but the substance looks like clay that's on this table. It was so cool.
Yeah, it's almost like a 3D model that has life to it almost.
And that's why I guess maybe I use the word war room. Like it almost looks like
that.
A war room, like where you would push like armies around on a table, like let's invade Norway or whatever. So it was really cool how they just incorporated that kind of stuff. But yeah, the virtual car scene where she's chasing the bad guys through Korea, but she's in Wakanda, but she's driving a car in Korea. I almost said Nightcrawler, as Black Panther is on the roof. She has to make a turn, like a hard 90-degree turn at like 60 miles an hour, and he like leans over the side of the car and like digs his claws into the concrete, which helps the car spin around that turn. It's all really cool. So
it's awesome. The whole, I just, and that idea of it being a meteorite that crashed the Earth 10,000 years ago is kind of rock solid as far as like the story of how vibranium happens. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
We talked a little bit about it, so I'll just spend maybe a minute on it. But like the ethnicness of this movie is so powerful to me. Like from the African garb, everyone's wearing a super expensive. I can't imagine how much money they spent on costuming for this
design
movie.
is unbelievable.
Everyone's got this traditional African garb on. The headdresses, they're playing African drums. Everyone's got face paint of some kind on their faces. That one guy has I looked it up finally. We had lunch today, but I couldn't remember it. But lip plate is what that one guy is wearing, and it's basically like. I looked up how they did this. They basically like had him wear a prosthetic on his face and then use makeup to kind of blend it in. But like, this is a real thing that it really exists in our world. But like, they will remove in African tribes. They will remove somebody's teeth from the bottom teeth of your head.
Wow.
Just pull them out and then extend your lip out and stretch it out, almost kind of like people get those. Gauge earrings and stuff like that, but they'll pull your lip all the way out and they kind of stretch it over time so that you literally have like a saucer, like a teacup saucer in your mouth, like in your bottom lip. And like he actually has a couple speaking lines, which I think is like fantastic that you can speak with
difficult.
That. Yeah. But yeah, he said, I found an interview or whatever where like he said he spent literally hours getting into that makeup.
The largest lip plate recorded ever was in Ethiopia, measuring 23.4 inches.
Jeez, that's 2 feet.
It's in circumference, and it's 7.6 inches wide. And so the circumference around was 23.4 inches, but its width was 7.6 inches. That's huge. It's in 2014. There you go. There's a fact, real fact. Here's some pictures.
I also, just to kind of cap off the ethnic stuff that I think is so powerful in this movie, I was amazed by how much subtitles there are in this movie. Yeah, that looks really uncomfortable.
Unbelievable.
But it was cool that
culture.
I'm
cultured.
I'm telling you, that was something I learned about African culture watching this movie. I know, look, people, I know Wakanda is not a real country. I'm just saying that there are real African things, like tribal things,
concepts.
Yeah, that were in this movie that I'd never heard of.
Right.
And the first time I saw him, I literally paused the movie. I was like, "What is that?" And I looked up about lip plates and I learned a bunch of stuff.
There you go.
So it was cool. But yeah, there are large portions of this movie. I would say probably maybe as much as like 8 or 9% of this movie that's not in English. It's in their Wakandan language, or a lot of it's in Korean.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Korean language in this movie, and they translate it.
Oddly enough, the two places it was filmed was in and around Atlanta.
Oh wow!
And in South Korea.
Oh, they did go to South Korea.
They filmed in South Korea. Did not film in Africa.
Never filmed in Africa?
It says the principal places it filmed were South Korea and Atlanta.
There's a lot of movie filming in
Savannah-looking areas in the.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm wrong.
Pull that mic in a little bit. Just
I'm so sorry.
That's right. So Yeah, obviously not. So not Africa. This is not what we're watching, but they did a good job of making it look like Africa. And honestly, I know we've had like Far From Home and some other movies that have gone outside of the borders of the United States, but I didn't realize how tired I was of like U.S. combat. like it's always New York City that gets attacked. It's always, there's something in San Francisco or, whatever, Florida, like there's all these different places in Marvel that they've gone, and very rarely does it get outside of the country. And the fact that this entire movie, literally none of this movie takes place in America, except when they're at the UN, which is a very quick scene, and the beginning of this movie, and in the middle of the movie where they have some brief scenes in Oakland, California.
Right.
Which is like 40 minutes from where I grew up, by the way.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you one thing, too. They also filmed the Iguazu waterfalls in Argentina as well.
Okay.
So there you go. But
that must have been where they had the ritual.
Big waterfall fight thing.
That's cool.
A big thing, too, I in all of Marvel stuff, which is really funny before this, and I'm going to get this wrong, because I'm sure there's been at least one other scene, maybe in the first Avengers movie. No, that was Captain America Civil War. You don't really see any other part of the world in a long shot. Now, I will say this. Iron Man is in the Middle East.
Yes.
That's how he gets, basically, his whole paradigm shift is in the Middle East when he realizes his weapons have created all this, problem. But you just see basically a lot of this happening in
New York, really.
New York or, wherever. LA at some level. Iron Man, is he in LA? Is he in California? Yeah.
Tony Stark lives in New York. He may have gone to LA for.
And he have a house. Where's his house at? Where's his house by the ocean?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember where that house is at. I just assumed it was in New York State somewhere, but maybe not. I think the actual house is in California where they film it, but. Yeah, you're right, though. I think you look at any of the movies, and for the most part, they're going to be operating in the United States. I thought it was weird when Spider-Man went to Europe.
And that's true. And after this, you see more overseas type things and that sort of thing.
But no, it was cool. Like the movie, I would say probably 90% of the movie does not take place inside of the United States, and that was great. I loved that. So, there's a lot in Korea. There's obviously a lot in Wakanda. I mean, fake Wakanda, Atlanta, basically. Let's talk about like just kind of some of the themes of the movie. So there's actually two characters, and they're on opposite sides of the battle, but the two characters that have a lot in common are, strangely enough, and this will make sense in a second, but Killmonger and Nakia are actually very similar in what they want. So Nakia obviously on the protagonist side, Killmonger on the antagonist side. But they essentially kind of want roughly the same thing with some nuance. Killmonger is willing to do violence to get it, but they essentially both want to help the disenfranchised. So Nakia is really, you see it from the very beginning of the movie. The reason that they had a falling out, like Shuri calls Nakia his ex at one point. So they were dating or whatever at some point before he was a king. And they've had a falling out because he wanted to go hide Wakanda, take care of our own, don't worry about anybody outside of our nation. And she wanted to be like, no, we need to care for everyone that needs our help. So she basically says there is a whole world out there that needs support, they need assistance, and we have the technology to help them, and we're not doing anything about it.
Right.
And she gets really upset with T'Challa about it, and they have this big falling out.
Because T'Challa's father has always been very isolationist.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to put his country in harm's way. And not that he didn't want to help people, but he was afraid of the outside world giving them problems.
Yeah.
Right, go ahead, sorry.
So we see that even from the very beginning of the movie. And then what's really interesting about the film is that when you finally get to figure out who the real bad guy essentially in this movie is Killmonger, even though he's really only present in an antagonistic kind of way in the second half of the film because it's all Klaue in the first half. But in the second half of the movie, you realize Killmonger just kind of wants the same thing. Like he's very angry. I mean, it's a vengeance story. His father was killed by T'Challa's father, so they're cousins.
Yeah.
And he's going to avenge his father's death by killing his cousin, and there's a lot of that going on. But ultimately, he wants to become the king so that he can basically take their technology and give it to but his is more of a violent type of persuasion.
He's willing to take it to that level.
Yeah,
because he knows that's how he's going to get results.
Yeah, his whole where he and Nakia would differ and disagree is that Nakia wants to do it in a non-violent help those who need who are hungry, that need protection, that kind of thing. And his nuance of the same idea is, let's use our technology to give guns and weapons and stuff like that to the people of Oakland, California, where he's from, and every other place where they are oppressed. And again, this is where current events really come into very poignant light. But basically, he's saying let's arm. He's an arms dealer. Let's arm the people that need to fight and kill and take over the people who are oppressing them. And so that's where he would differ from Nakia, but essentially at the core they both kind of want the same thing, which is, let's not hide our technology. We have the best technology in the world, right, and we need to share that with the world. He's coming from a violent standpoint, and then she's the non-violent.
Right. It's interesting, the his response too, I do find one thing about the movie, his response, and people are so afraid to go against the tradition of how someone becomes the ruler of their country. And so in their minds, they're like, well, this guy is saying some things maybe I don't agree with, but he's the king. I've got to do this. Yeah. And it's this weird, I don't know that he had a real quorum as far as a lot of people that supported him. Yeah. And so they probably at some point, I kept thinking that in the movie, they could just say no. I mean, there's enough of them. What I'm saying? He
can't take all of them out.
He had one of his friends kind of went with Killmonger. One of Black Panther's friends,
M'Baku or something like that. Yeah. But he's the guy from Get Out. If you've seen the movie Get Out, and I had to look it up because I actually saw Get Out before. I saw Get Out a couple of years ago, but the main character in the Jordan Peele horror movie Get Out, is the character that you're talking about.
Okay, yeah,
yeah. So there's 5 tribes in Wakanda. So 20% of the thing is willing to kind of go with Killmonger, but he's the rhino controller guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
His tribe, he's the leader of his tribe, so I guess the tribe kind of goes with his decision. But he says, I'm all in with Killmonger. I agree with him, and we're doing this,
which is crazy.
So, and you can see it's not a weird thing when he goes with where he sides with Killmonger during that whole uprising thing. It's not surprising from a plot standpoint, because earlier in the movie there's a point where he says, Klaue has done something to hurt him. I can't remember what it is, but he says, I'm going with you on the mission to get Klaue, and Black Panther's whole deal is we're going to capture him. He's like, no, I'm going to kill him. We're not. I think Black Panther says, no, I am going to kill him, but he says, no, I want to be the one to do it. So you can already see from the very beginning of the movie that he's very violent, and he's
willing to be violent,
and he's willing to solve things with murder. Killing basically, and basically he doesn't go on the mission because Black Panther's one condition is, I'm going to capture Klaue and then I'm going to bring him back here. And he's like, okay, knowing that, I'm not going to go with you. But then because of a whole series of events that happen during the movie, Klaue escapes. They get him in custody. He escapes from prison because his cronies break him out, and he is able to get away. And then at that point, I think that's kind of the turning point for, I think it's M'Baku, if I can remember correctly, but he has a big falling out with T'Challa at that point, because T'Challa didn't actually do what he said he was going to do. And because he didn't really like T'Chaka very much, and he sees T'Challa just being T'Chaka 2.0.
M'Baku is the leader of the mountain tribe.
Oh, yeah. He's the guy that helps him at the end.
You are thinking of... Keep going. I'm going to have to find him.
Speaking of, since you mentioned M'Baku, I really like M'Baku in this movie. He's essentially a bad guy, kind of, at the beginning of the movie, but then turns good at the end.
M'Baku, throughout the comics, is actually a pretty bad dude.
Oh, really?
He's the white gorilla. He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
And they softened his character up for this. They made him not an enemy as much.
I feel like he should have gone
Black
with
Panther.
Killmonger.
At some point, the white gorilla becomes the leader of Wakanda. He takes over a little bit.
Wow.
He's part of the Masters of Evil.
Wow.
He's part of the Lethal Legion in the comics.
I wonder if they do something with that in the second movie. Maybe he becomes the villain in the next one. But at any rate, I thought it was so cool that towards the end of the movie, he was they go to him for assistance. He actually saves Black Panther's life, like because Killmonger kills him in ritual battle, throws him off of that waterfall, falls to we know he's alive, but everyone thinks he's dead. And they have to go all the way to ascend to the top of this mountain. They don't even know that he's alive. They're going there for assistance. They say, M'Baku, you're the only one strong enough to take on Killmonger. We need your help.
Yes.
And he says, I will help you. No, I won't go against Killmonger. But by the way, T'Challa's alive, and I have him right here. But if you move him, you'll kill him. They give him the heart-shaped herb. He gets his powers restored.
Sure.
And then he says, hey, go on with my blessing, but I'm not getting involved in this battle. Well, and then, of course, at the end, he comes in.
What I find interesting about his character, too, like, their technology that they have is not really technology at all, but it's this crazy hard wood.
Oh, yeah.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's like super strong wood.
Yeah.
It's not vibranium, but it's darn close. It's super strong wood.
Each of those tribes kind of has like a signifying mark, like the one guy's name that you're trying to look up. Like he commands rhinoceros, like animals, like he rides rhinos. Basically.
They have their own, their super abilities, yeah.
So, which I thought all that stuff looked really good too. But okay, so we talked about Nakia. I think Shuri is a very interesting. So when I went to go see Infinity War in theaters, back when theaters were,
you saw Shuri.
Shuri came on the screen, and everyone in the theater was like,
"Oh,
yay!
Cool, yeah."
And I was like, I don't know who this
she's
person
a super
is.
genius, and she's a super genius. And at some point, they're talking about Vision because they're wanting to get the
WandaVision
Soul Stone.
Oh.
Out of his is he the Soul Stone or the Mind Gem? I can't remember which one he has in his head.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're trying to get that out of there, and she's trying to figure out his circuitry. And she basically questions Tony Stark, "Why'd you do this with it when you should have did this?" And he's like, "I don't know." So it shows you that they're giving her a lot of leeway to say that she's very super intelligent.
Oh,
so,
yeah. Yeah, she is. I mean, the movie kind of alludes to the fact that she is like almost solely responsible for almost all of their tech.
Yes.
She's a kid, but like she's come up with all this stuff. She is essentially kind of a young Tony Stark female version. So yeah, and she's funny. Like that actress is just really good. And delivers all the zinger lines.
But very kid-like
T'Challa.
it too. She has some very kid-like quality because she is a young kid.
She is. There are scenes where she's downright adolescent and like her what she thinks is funny. Like no one around her thinks her sense of humor is funny at all.
Right.
But she thinks it's hilarious. So there's one. It's actually the scene where T'Challa becomes king, where he defeats M'Baku in ritual battle, and he becomes the king. Like before anyone. They're invited. Anyone from any tribe is invited to take on the king, the future king, and actually become the king instead.
Sure.
And she goes, like they're all doing their like like kind of ritual like African kind of tribal sounds and stuff. And then she just goes, hey, can we just get this over with and crown him king? And she's like, she thinks she's hilarious, and like everyone's just like, who is this kid?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I really like her character a lot. Okoye is phenomenal. And like her, it's not just combat, but like some of her lines, I wrote one of them down towards the end of the movie. She is going head to head against one of the main dudes in the movie. It's not Killmonger. It's one of the guys that actually is from Wakanda, like born and raised. It might be the guy, the rhino guy, but she goes into hand-to-hand combat with him, and he says, would you kill me, my love? And she says, for Wakanda, without question.
Yeah.
And she is like so sold out to her country and her people, and is willing to like just murder dudes. Like she is.
I mentioned Walking Dead earlier. We're talking about another person, but she is Michonne from Walking Dead.
Oh, oh my gosh, that makes me want to watch that show. Dude, she is a perfect Michonne. I've read all the Walking Dead comics. I just haven't seen the show.
Oh,
dude,
really?
Yeah, she is a perfect Michonne.
They did a good job of casting on that too. Then,
yeah,
so.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't know that, but she is a fascinating character. I would watch a movie with just starring her, which they'll probably never do. I absolutely hope that she's in. Hopefully she didn't die in the Infinity Saga movies. I don't think so. I don't remember her character. I'm sure she's in the big battle scene in those movies. But now that I know who she is, I'd have to go back and watch them. But but yeah, she's absolutely amazing too. Any other like?
No, I just
things that you
I think
about
it's
or
great
just
to have Black Panther in the Marvel universe. I think he fits in really, really well. I think there's a lot of things they can do with him.
Yeah.
I think that adding a character like Black Panther also, and it's different, but it seeds the way for adding different characters like even Namor, Submariner, like people like that that are big time characters in the Marvel universe. But you had to get your meat and potatoes in the Iron Man, Thor, Captain America stuff to get to some other characters that fill out the universe and are really as important, but they're just they had to get from A to B, A to get to B. So
yeah.
Anyway,
just kind of closing thought. Like I think the movie is really important from just a vibranium sense alone. Like I think that it really could open up some really cool things with vibranium. Like without even they'd mentioned Wakanda in some other movies, but to actually show Wakanda really says we're doubling down on vibranium and like just what this tech, what it can provide for us for the world, really for tech.
One of the Iron Man post-credit scenes has a map of different things that Nick Fury is showing Tony Stark.
Uh-huh.
And on the back of that map in the background, you can see a dot on a part of Africa.
Yeah, it's got to be
that was the very first reference to it. Like, oh, that's got to be Black Panther, blah, blah, blah. But that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it took a while for them to get that.
That was years ago.
It is amazing to me.
Almost 10 years before this movie would have come out, which is crazy.
It is amazing to me that like an all-black cast, everyone in this movie is black except for
Martin Freeman.
Yeah, Martin Freeman.
And Klaue. And Ulysses Klaue.
Right, yeah. So, like, I don't know, all the best characters in this movie were black, and they were phenomenal. Every single actor in this movie is some of the best acting I've seen in years. It is so good.
Just so well done. Ryan Coogler does a great job writing and directing, and just phenomenal. So,
dude, I cannot wait for another one. It is... Out of 22 Marvel movies, it's a top 5 for me easily. I would go back and watch this again and again. I know you have.
Sure.
I'll probably watch it again in another 6 months or a year. It's one that I'll go back to quite a bit, and I've not gone back to a lot of the other ones, but really, really good. So, well, I hope we're kind of running out of time, so I think we're gonna table what else have you been watching on Disney Plus. If you want to write the show, hit us up at disneyplusreviews@hotmail.com. If you have an idea for us something you want us to review on the show, or something you want to give us your thoughts on Black Panther, or honestly anything in Marvel, we'd be happy to either read your comments or play your audio file. Just again, email that to disneyplusreviews@hotmail.com. And we've got several ideas as far as what we want to do next. I really I would honestly love to kind of change gears and do like a documentary type movie or something next week, just to put something else out on the table. I've been wanting to watch Free Solo for a while, so I might throw that out as an option.
Okay.
But honestly, like I don't want to do Star Wars because we've done too much Star Wars.
We've done so much Star Wars,
But the Mandalorian documentary stuff is something we can maybe talk about. And what else have you been watching?
We can bank Free Solo. Let's just do Free Solo.
Okay, let's watch Free Solo for next time. I'm really excited. If you're not familiar with it, the 10-second pitch on that movie basically is the main rock at Yosemite that I'm blanking on the name of, he basically climbs it without any assistance at all. Like
that rock is not made of vibranium either.
No, it is not. No harness, no nothing. Like literally just climbs it. Just hit his body, like climbs this thing. So I want to talk. I want to talk about the madness that you have to do to free solo a mountain like that. So we'll go ahead and watch that and cover that for next week's episode. Until then, have a great week and Wakanda forever.
There you go. See ya.